Matthew 4, verses 5 through 7. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and sitteth him on the pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Luke 4, verses 9 through 12. And he brought him to Jerusalem, and set him on a pinnacle of the temple, and said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down from hence. For it is written, He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus answering said unto him, It is said, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Hey folks, let me see here. Look at what we're dealing with. This is in the United States currently at 10:57 a.m., March the 21st, 2020, we have 19,624 cases in the United States alone. And worldwide, we have 286,816 cases. Okay, folks, I don't edit my videos or anything. I shoot live everything. So I'm an old stage actor. When I was in college, I studied under Jay Thompson, who worked with Carol Burnett and Julie Andrews, and you can go and read Once Upon a Mattress. He wrote that, and Carol Burnett starred in it. Carol secretly claims him as being the reason she went into acting and stage and everything, that he found her. All right, so... And I remember, I've got stories I can tell all about him and things that happened when I was doing productions, and he got calls from famous people that was just make your jaw drop. Okay, we're talking about the, let's get back on topic here. We're talking about the coronavirus. And again, I don't edit anything. I'm an old stage actor from college days and from high school. The one thing you can use is Hibiclens, chlorhexidine glutamate, to wash your hands with. Hey, if you've got some mouth issues or something, this works really good. This is cetipyridinium chloride. Okay. I'm going to take you outside and show you some other things. I lived in a house, let's see, just regular old pine sol, folks, diluted in water. Follow the instructions. This works really good too. That'll even work on radiation. You got radiation in your clothes. I was in a house with a 20-plus year sewage leak, and I survived that. And when I say  years, I mean that was probably from my youngest ages, and 2x12s were rotten in two. Everybody else, everybody who was exposed to high levels in that house died. And I'm still alive. I owned a health and wellness shop. I did that as a result of and I dealt with doctors at Threshold Enterprises. Those doctors, MDs, Matt, and then a PhD, Dr. Goff. They were research people all there too, and they all said they have never met anyone in their life that knew everything I knew. Here's my card. Health and wellness products. These viruses and things like this, they will attack your brain. You'll need to take things like phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylcholine. I mean, I can go into a whole slew of things that you can take that will protect your brain. But let me just show you. I had to wear this. That's a full coverall, Tyvek. That's a full case of them. I still have it. I wore that you had to wear that in the house. Okay, you want to talk about burning up. You burn up when you wear one of those things. Let me show you my mask here. I have two of these babies. Should have done this off camera. Put it all back in here when I'm through. Wow, I didn't realize I drafted so good. Sorry for the delay. It's like unwrapping a Christmas present. Like one of those Russian dolls. All right, here we go. Can you see that? You wear that with the Tyvek suits. Folks, I read you that scripture. I hear ministers telling people to, come on in. We don't care if you've got the germ. I'm going to lay hands on you. I'm going to heal you. Well, sir, Jesus told me I am a part of the body. He sent messengers to tell me, two of them, holy angels, and they spoke. And other people witnessed many things around me. He said, the first angel said, you are a part of the body of Christ. You are a member of his church. And the second one, they sang this. And it was angelic. The second one, in a very high tone, said, be ready. Be ready. So the first one was a low tone. Listen, I've seen miracles you wouldn't imagine. Don't tempt God. If you don't walk out onto a firing range where people are shooting guns because you think you're bulletproof. You think you have some special power. That's tempting God. Don't walk if you know someone has tuberculosis, you don't walk into the house full of tuberculosis. This germ, let me turn you around so you can see me. This germ is spread much like tuberculosis is spread. It's spread by droplets. That's right. So would you knowingly go and invite someone in the presence of others and yourself and cause harm to you and others? I hope to God not. So don't tempt God. And all these people who want to shout down and say how it's nothing, listen, I was forced into a house that was highly contaminated. Since 2015, the beginning of 2015, I have been bedridden in this new home of mine with no furniture or anything. Now, I'm fortunate that I have my savings, which I've saved. But under the light of the certain circumstances, with the stock market tanking and everything else, God only knows what's going to happen to this world's economy. Again, it's another day for me. Every day's the same for me. But I've learned to survive. And everyone else needs to do the same. And that includes you, ministers. I'm speaking to you because I'm a part of the body of Christ. The Lord has told me as such and instructed. And I'm telling you to do no harm. That means your parishioners are your flock. And they are the sheep. And you don't lead them to the slaughter. Okay? You might send them out amongst wolves, but you don't send them out amongst known harm. You don't send them out to be exposed to a germ in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, you don't walk out onto a firing range. You don't go into a house that's known TB. You don't have, if a husband and wife, if the husband or the wife has AIDS, for instance, the husband and the wife shouldn't engage in marital consummations if one of the partners has got AIDS. It's dangerous. So again, don't tempt God. Don't put yourself into harm's way. Don't think you're Superman and that you can fly and can jump off of this cliff, because that's what the devil wants you to do. That's what the devil tempted Jesus to do, is jump off of this high cliff. And this is at the temple in Jerusalem. This most likely was a high priest tempting Jesus to do that. So the high priest wants him to jump. Do you understand? And that is a religious role. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be destroyed. You're God's creation. God made you in his own image, and he wants you to be well. He doesn't want destruction to come upon you. Let me talk about something else real quick. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, who is a Republican, has stated that he has stated, and I don't want to misquote anybody, but let me find that statement. Basically, he hinted at the fact that we're going to find the people responsible for this germ, and we're going to hold them accountable. So why I'm bringing this up, okay. Let me pause this. Here we go, folks. Senator Cotton closes Washington, D.C. office March the 12th. This, again, today is the 21st. I'm recording live. He says, I'm not going to go into all this, but he says that someone he says he's closed his offices. Wuhan contravirus is a grave challenge to our great nation. My first priority is always the safety of the people. Since I first heard reports of an unknown virus spreading in central China in early January, I've endeavored to protect you and your family from this menace. From the beginning, I have heeded the counsel of Benjamin Franklin. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I urge every American to do the same as individuals in their families and at their workplaces and schools together. Together, through prudent and responsible actions, we can arrest the spread of this virus and protect the health of our nation. Effective immediately, therefore, I have closed my Washington, D.C. office. An aide in another Senate office has tested positive for the Wuhan contravirus. Other congressional employees are likely to test positive in the days ahead. The most sensible course of action for the public and the congressional workforce under the circumstances is for my staff to telecommute. A week-long congressional recess begins tomorrow, so the disruption to our in-office operations will be minimal. My D.C. office will remain closed through that recess, but my staff will be available to assist you promptly by email and phone. I'm not in Arkansas, folks. I'm in North Carolina. But he's on the same committee as my Senator Burr is, Richard Burr. They're both on the Senate Intel. And the thing that I want you to hear is this one right here, this last sentence, because these people know more than we do, because they're on the Intel committee. We will emerge stronger from this challenge. We will hold accountable. Read that. We will hold accountable those who inflicted it on the world, and we will prosper in the new day. Now, folks, that means, read that for you. We will hold accountable. Who's he talking about? Who did this? Someone did it? If you sick your dog on somebody, and God doesn't protect you and that dog eats you up, that holds you accountable. They're going to hold the owner of that dog accountable, of that animal. They might even euthanize that dog, but they're going to hold the owner accountable, right? Am I wrong? What is this virus? Where'd it come from? Have we ever had anything like this reaction take place? Why is this senator saying we're going to hold someone accountable for a virus if it's a natural cause? Do you hold people accountable for natural causes? Huh? Ministers, presbyters, deacons, episcopates, listen to me. If this is man-made, if this is a biological weapon that has been deposited there, by the way, the meat market that they say this came from is right across the street from a level 3, level 4 biolab, where they hold biological weapons and things. As I understand it, I'm only reading, okay? That's all I know. I don't know any more than what I've read. If that's false information, you'll have to correct the sources, because what's the senator talking about here? Why are we going to hold someone else responsible for an act of God, if they want to call it that? I don't believe God does things like that, okay? First off, again, I believe someone, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to speculate too far, but I just want you to hear the senator's own words on that. I'm not going to speculate. But don't put yourself in harm's way. Stay safe. People laugh. I was in a house, and let me just say this very briefly. Captain in the Air Force who I grew up with, and I'd known ever since I was about 8 years old, his name was Captain Philip Bruce Twine. He came to my house. He was in the first Gulf War. He came to my house. He was in a bunker in England. And he was the lowest ranked person there, being a captain. Everybody else was a general. And these were high-ranking officials, and they were scheduling he was in logistics. They were scheduling where all the missiles were being targeted to be launched. And this is going into Iraq and Afghanistan and everything. So he said he couldn't do that anymore. His mother was a secretary of the church. And so he said, I can't do that. He was really eating on his conscience. So he asked the generals to be reassigned, and they assigned him to United Nations Peacekeeping Force, where he was instructed to take United States-made biological weapons out of Afghanistan, take them into the Western Sahara, dig a hole real deep, and bury them, and pray to God that those things never came to light, or they never bubbled up or anything, or got into the atmosphere. All right, well, here's what happened. He got contaminated because all they gave him were some rubber gloves to wear, and he went out there with other men, and they were all contaminated. He came back home to the United States and was stationed in Virginia after being contaminated. He came to me, asked me to be the godparent to his unborn child. And I had problems with the house, as I told you. I was not well. But I was doing what I was doing it, whatever I had to do. And he asked me to be the godparent to his unborn child. 5 days later, he also told me, he said, I'm sick. He said, the doctors told me I don't have long to live. I've been contaminated by a biological American-made. He told me what I just told you. I'm relaying it to you. Then 5 days later, his heart burst. That germ went after his heart. That biological weapon went after his heart. Now, the doctor said he had a weak heart and that he'd always had this problem, and that's what happened. He went into the doctors. Just prior to all that, when he was having symptoms and everything, they checked him out and said he was fine and dismissed him. Said, you're fine, go home. Now, he came to me and I told you what he told me. So, I'm not going to put pictures up here today, but I can put pictures of me up here. I'm covered and head to toe with sores. I've shown it to people and they can't believe it. You've never seen anything like it. You're looking at me now, but again, I have learned how to treat this. I've learned things like grapefruit seed extract, which will kill, I read in the British Medical Journal, it'll kill MRSA even. It'll kill just about anything. Certain essential oils, you can get into clove oils and things like that. Again, my knowledge on this, I don't know anyone that knows everything I know. The reason I know it is because I've lived through it. You take someone who's driven a car or someone who's studied about driving a car. Well, Buddy Rowe, I'm not the doctor who studied in books what to do. I'm the man who lived through the fire and brimstone. And I had to survive to do it. And I got a hold of I read every British medical journal and anything you could read about viruses and about, listen, cancer is tied is a lichen. It's a lichen. I don't care what anybody else says. If you want to look up what a lichen is, do it. And I can explain all that much later. But a lot of people diagnosed with cancer have fungal diseases. And I mean, you want to get into this Stachybotrys, you've got Aspergillus, there's a whole slew of them. And I studied all those up one side, down the other. And do you know your medical doctors can't name one fungus? Now, if you read in the Bible about Moses and read about all the other things, you will find mention of the word fungus in a different form in the Old Testament many, many times, over and over again. It's not using the word fungus, though. Again, they're using other terms for that. They're using such as, even if the stones have a green growth on them, you're supposed to take those stones and dispose of those stones. They become garbage. So it's that dangerous. And yes, there are funguses that are not dangerous that are used for products like even cheese and all of that. I'm aware of that. But we have a slew of funguses that are deadly. And right now we're dealing with some super funguses, and nobody's even talking about that. We have more deaths from the super funguses than we do from this coronavirus. And it's the same fungus that women get. It's a candida or Candida aureus. And in the hospitals, the death rate is rampant, just as it is with MRSA. You go into a hospital, have surgery, you might get MRSA. They might tell you you have cancer or you have MRSA, but guess what? You probably have Candida aureus. So, or Canada, however they want to pronounce it. I say Candida to differentiate it from the nation because they're so close in pronunciation. All right. Folks, be safe. Keep things clean, use your cleaning products. And fear not, but be proactive and do no harm. You heard Jesus' words, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. When your minister tells you, I want you to come down here and lay hands on this man who has the coronavirus, and I want you to put your hands all over him, you tell them, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Don't tempt Jesus. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I went to the nation's capital with my mother and my father. Now let's see how well you can see that. I'll try and get some light on the topic. No, that's too much light out. Well, that's George Washington at Valley Forge. And on the back, probably can't see that too well either. But I'll read it to you. It says, Articles of Confederation, 200th Anniversary, Adaptation of the American Flag. Right there it has the American flag. It says 1777 and 1778. I hear people saying that that's the Betsy Ross flag. Ladies and gentlemen, my last name is Ross. I have a history which includes the founding of this nation, and we were Highland Scotch Gaels, and that is the American flag, which was graciously designed by Betsy Ross. So it's not the Betsy Ross flag, it is the American flag, thank you, for the United States of America. And folks, if you look back, you'll find we had presidents of the United States that predated George Washington. That's the York Courthouse, and up there in Pennsylvania, and very beautiful coin that my parents, it's just bronze, folks, it's nothing, but it sure does look like a proof, doesn't it? I was 7, 8 years old. Don't ask me if, I believe it's a proof, just looking at it. I've seen other examples of it, but I lost everything in the house, but thank God I have some things to remember. Interestingly enough, I have things from when I was 7, 8 years old. They were in a box, and somehow that got out of the house and got to me. But everything else, I mean, I had memories from high school and college, and think of if you lost everything you had. If it burned up in a fire, it couldn't have been any worse. And that one little teeny box, it was a box, I can show it to you, it's outside, it's a little cedar box. But, I mean, I'm talking, my Social Security card is gone. Who's got that? My medical records are gone. Who's got that? You know, again, I've got money. So we're talking about things that mean more to me in the sentimental value than we're talking about money or anything. But out of that whole house, look, there's a little teeny box that held some coins that I had when I was 8 years old. It's got a Bible in there. Isn't that good? It's Jesus. It has a duck call my grandfather made. Imagine if you could put everything you treasured in a small box this size, and that's all you got to carry out. Now, I've got things that, like that exercise equipment, all that was outside of the house. Again, I'll put pictures someday up here, maybe. I don't want to scare anybody because we've got enough fear right now with this coronavirus thing, but folks, what I've been through, the doctors have told me, is worse than AIDS, worse than cancer, worse than SARS, worse than... They said it's worse than anything they have ever seen. Folks, I'm standing here, and I've been through fire that made Meshach and Abednego and all those fellas, makes what they went through look like a piece of cake, because I had to endure it for more than 20 years, 30 years even. So, and I had to endure it every day. I remember kneeling in the shower with blood running off of my skin everywhere, and I'm blood coming out of my rectum. I got pictures of all this. Praying to God to come help me or somebody do something. And do you know, I wrote to congressmen and senators and presidents and Kay Hagan's office and you name it. I wrote to everybody. And I've written to them even recently. Do you know what I got? Nothing. No response even. They don't even acknowledge you.